I'm Simone,
And I am Dorothy,
and we are
two ancient semi-enlightened broads,
schmoozing on life.
and beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are we schmoozing about today?
Well,
And
remember
life.
that Zen proverb, the obstacle is the path. And remember I said to you, boy, I read that and it was like everything went off in my body, woo, like that. And that it would be interesting to put that out there, especially when there's so many perceived obstacles right now. And like, you know who, and then there's there is all the racial tension that's going on right now, and yet the great stuff that's coming out of that too.
It's
And
true.
then there's the pandemic, and then there's the economy. I mean, there's so much throughout life, right?
Yes.
And when we were just talking about that a few minutes ago, you said the greatest thing. You said, what did you say? How you perceive obstacles?
As boulders in the path of life?
Well, how you deal with it.
Oh, how I deal with it. My boulders.
Yeah, your boulders, baby.
Yes, well, I at this point in my life, I look at my path and I really don't see boulders anymore.
So good.
And if there's something that I need to confront or I need to deal with, I either choose to deal with it or I walk around it.
Mhm.
But most of the time, the things you don't deal with, as you and I both know, will always pop up again somewhere along the way.
Mhm.
And I also think that every challenge that we have, every obstacle that we have in life, and we all have them from the time we're born until we take our last breath, I think every obstacle probably has value, because I know you've had many, as I have, but every obstacle that we've dealt with has gotten us to where we are today.
Yeah.
Who I am today is because of all those obstacles.
Mhm.
Who you are today is because of everything that ever happened to you,
Mhm.
everything you've ever had to deal with.
Mhm.
And that's the end of the show. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone. Figured it all out for you.
How do you look at that?
Well, I love the way you're saying it. I'm more interested in finding out how you got to a place where you could view your obstacles with that kind of detachment
I,
and interest and fascination, as it could be a spiritual lesson or something that's another stepping stone on the path.
mhm.
How did you get to that place? It was so relaxed sounding.
Year after year after decade after decade, I think it is, you know, that saying, oh, if I only knew then what I know now.
Mhm.
Well, we can't.
Mhm.
And the now is a culmination of everything that has ever occurred to us, everything that has ever happened to us or for us.
Mhm.
And I think that when we're at a certain point in our lives, and perhaps because of my age at this point, I can look in retrospect
Mhm.
at my life and
Mhm.
see all of the places that I tripped and fell,
Mhm.
and see all of the boulders I climbed over, those obstacles in my way,
Mhm.
and look at some of the things that I shook my fist at and shook my fist at the heavens and said, why me?
Mhm. Mhm.
It got me to where I am. I recognize that in spite of it all, I'm still here.
Right.
And remember that song that John Marshall sent us?
So wonderful. Yvonne DiCarlo singing it, right?
Yes. And I'm still here. Yes. And when you're at that place, when you can look back and see what you have accomplished, see what you've overcome, see what you have bested in your life,
Mhm.
then all of a sudden you don't see things as obstacles. You don't see them as something you have to shake your fist at. You look at them, by this point, you know that if this is happening and it's creating change for a reason, so that I can do something else, so that I can take another step.
Yeah.
And perhaps, when I was 30, if someone had told me that, I might not have received it well. But at this point, I can say it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
We can shake our fists at the heavens if we want to,
Mm-hmm.
and if that makes us feel better, and we see ourselves as a victim somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't see myself as a victim.
Nor I. And I was thinking as you were talking about what has been an obstacle for me. And Lordy, I've had some buttes, but I believe that I created those before I came in as part of the contract to evolve more and to deepen as a soul. Mm-hmm. Looking back now, I want to say, next time, let's keep it a little lighter. You really don't have to go through all of that. In fact, you don't have to go through any of it. All you have to do is be a citizen of the planet or a citizen of another planet that brings love in, because that's really all there is. But it takes a while to get to that space, right? There's so many changes one goes through to get to that place. Like you said, at our age, it's not even our age, at our level of experience and the wisdom that's come in and what we've learned. Gosh, my whole life has been this learning stemming from a huge obstacle. And it's been incredible. It's given me everything. And I was just thinking about it as you were talking. I'm saying, well, what could I talk about that wouldn't be that could help people today? And I would talk about the obstacle of my body being perceived as an obstacle. And because my weight has been a thing for me my whole life, mm-hmm. And maybe we could give a tool or something for that. That's not something that's an obstacle any longer. I love my body, but most people don't know I used to be 100 pounds more than I am today. And it's been, I've worked on it for 35, 40 years, ever since I was a little girl, actually, way before that, a long time ago. And I can truly say now at this point, that journey of staying in my body and learning how to feel safe and comfortable in my body, that's been it for me. Learning how to feel safe and comfortable in my own body. It's been big. And there are always tools to give people about these realizations that, they don't just come overnight. Well, some of them do, but the big ones, the big life lesson ones, to move them out of the obstacle category and see them as your shaman, as your teacher, as the one that's leading you to a larger part of yourself. That's the deal, isn't it? That's the deal. I thank my body for everything that it has taught me.
How do you think that someone can finally get to that place where they begin to recognize that the obstacles in their lives can, even in the midst of one, can be something you can utilize to help you to grow, to become more of who you really are? What do you think about that?
What do I think about it? Well, for me, and I could say for the clients that I work with too, they all come in with perceived obstacles, let's say. Gratitude for what is working in your life is kind of part of the framework. I mean, there's a foundation that you build from over the years, right? Mm-hmm. This notion that I can live with uncertainty, even during challenging times. I can't control anything, which is one of the biggest, hardest things, I think, for people to understand that. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the great gifts the pandemic has given us, to really get it finally. we're not in charge of everything. We can, co-manifest, we can, be in the flow of life and whatever. But so I think that's a big obstacle for people sometimes when they say, wow, this pandemic, I'm not in charge of it. I can do these things, but I'm watching what's going on around me, and it's really scary and blah, blah, blah. And that, it's only human to have those feelings. It's a lot. And then I hear people in the hospital coming out of the hallway, and the nurses are clapping and everybody's going, yay, you made it. You're so incredible. You've been here 2 months. And the people are like, wow, it was real. The woman I watched last night, she said it was really tough, but I know so much more of myself.
Mm-hmm.
I understand so much about life. It's incredible. So, that's kind of an example for me. I was like, wow, these people are just incredible, how they're holding it. You have so many choices when you're going through something that's, could take your life. And you come out of it getting how powerful and shape-shifting, life-shifting it is for you, if you choose that path. And that's really what you said before. We always have this choice in it, how we're going to be with it.
Well, I know for me, I've had several people that I've worked with, and some of them closer to my age. And I also recognize that in some people, they haven't developed wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
They are still seeing themselves as victims.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when I invite them to think in terms of being grateful for everything that has occurred in their lives, to find some gratitude in that.
Yeah.
And because it has made you who you are today,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just wondering, for anyone watching, if you looked at your life and said, where in my life do I recognize that that was a turning point?
Yeah.
That there was a challenge and it was a turning point for me.
Yeah.
And if I hadn't had that turning point, I wouldn't know what I know right now.
Exactly. Or be where I am.
Or be where I am.
That's why I bow to those things that have happened that are, and I, it happens for us. It really does. Down the line, it happens for us.
Well, you have often talked to, and I mean, we have talked about the contract
Mm-hmm.
that we came in with.
Mm-hmm.
So did I sign up for the things that happened to me? Probably. I often think this, that when something happens to me, I signed up for that.
Yeah.
For that to happen to me.
Yeah.
What I didn't sign up for was how I will react to it.
That's right. That's right.
So there's the lesson.
That's
Ultimately,
right.
that'll be the lesson.
That's so interesting too, because I think of taking people into the Akashic records and into the library, where they open this book that shows the blueprint of all the contracts they've had and where they've been in other lifetimes. And it's just tremendously animated. It's like going into a movie. And they see that they actually wrote down with dates of when things would happen and what they were. It's so fascinating to watch their face, because the whole story of how could this have happened to me, and why did I get this, and why did I get cancer, and blah, blah, blah. And it's not about blaming yourself or any of that. Sometimes people don't like to hear this information because they think they're, it places self-responsibility.
Exactly.
I suppose, if you hear it that way.
Yes.
Really, it's to learn to love yourself and to know that we come in with preconceived notions of what we think we need to grow, or things we've learned about suffering or guilt or shame, or even things that we've done that we're not proud of. We got to make up for it and all this stuff. But once you get on the path and you see, no, it's about forgiveness for everything and for everyone, no matter what's been done or what's happening. And then the obstacles just kind of, it's like, oh, it's just one of those. It's one of those again. I wonder what I'll learn from this one. I mean, we can look at the pandemic, even the people that are coming out of the hospital after these incredibly difficult things are saying, I have learned so much about myself that I didn't know. It's incredible.
This is true. That's
it's
true.
interesting to talk to people who are actually dying and to see what some of them have to say, where they've come to with themselves. That's challenging. That is challenging.
Exactly. And there's nothing more difficult if we look at it from the point of view of death or that time when we are faced with the fear of death and we come through it.
Yeah.
We find out something about ourselves.
Amazing. Or trauma.
Oh, any trauma.
When you think, oh my God, I'll never come through this depression, or I'll never come through this anxiety. It's so huge. Or this PTSD. I mean, think of all the soldiers that come back. And then you see these people figuring their lives out and using that information and learning how to work with their body and their nervous systems and their emotions. And it's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It's really incredible. It takes a special kind of, as you said, wisdom.
Well, I think for me, I think that when we begin to look at things differently, we are shifting our perceptions.
Yes.
And as soon as we shift our perceptions, what we look at changes.
Yes.
I think Wayne Dyer said something like that.
Sure did.
Yeah.
Well,
and
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so then the obstacle stops being an obstacle.
Right.
And it begins to be the very tool that takes us to the next level.
Yeah. For myself, with the things that were really horrendous in my childhood and all that stuff, I could not work with people at the levels I do without having gone there.
Exactly.
Terrified. I would have been terrified. Yes. And I'm so grateful that I went to those depths and those heights and all of it. I had to. And it's amazing.
And you're still here.
And I'm still here, and I'm loving it. Mm-hmm. I'm loving it here, even with all that's going on. It's challenging, really. There are these opportunities, moment by moment, we're being shown the uncertainty. And
well, I think everyone in this particular time in our evolution is dealing with, whether it's the pandemic, whether it is the after effects or the symptoms, let's say, of the pandemic, and the anger that people are showing, and some people are in that conspiracy belief system that this is all a hoax, and it really is no pandemic. And I've seen things on Facebook and some other places, and I think, how can you look at what's going on in every state and in every country and think that this isn't really happening?
Well, it's the same thing that happened with the Holocaust and lynchings and all kinds of things that have happened in history. When people get very afraid. They don't want to believe that humans have a shadow, that all of us are capable of that stuff, and that, they don't want to look at it, they don't want to heal it, they want to skirt it as fast as they can. So then it's a conspiracy. It's being done to us. We couldn't possibly.
There's the victim. There's the victimhood.
Yeah. I mean, look at these people that don't want to put on masks. That's a mask becomes the obstacle in your life.
Let's talk about that.
Yes, let's.
The obstacle. There's an obstacle. And it's all perceived.
Exactly.
It's just a perception.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know anybody that walks around saying, gee, I just love wearing a mask. It's so comfortable and cute. I'm having so much fun with it, aren't you? No. However, I understand how important it is, and I want to protect others.
My perception of the mask, if it's an obstacle, I don't see it as an obstacle. Right. My perception of the mask is that if I do have this virus, whether I know it or not. If I do have it, I want to save your life
Right.
from what
Exactly.
I could do to you.
Well, it's that thing again, too, about the perception of me versus we.
Oh, that's true.
And that obstacle that some people have in their minds that we can't be part of the whole family of things together in the body of God. That animals are less, that, you know, if you have a certain skin tone, you're less. If you're a certain religion or sex or whatever, or you're a plant or whatever, you're less. The ocean is less. It's all that egoic structure that we've talked about so much, having to do with your perceptions, your mental perceptions of things.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but the mask is just a piece of cloth or whatever, and then you decide what it is for you. How do you want to hold it?
And that's all it is.
Is it an issue about your freedom? Is it really an issue about your freedom? Is a freedom a mask? I don't know.
I don't know.
Not
Is
to
it?
me.
Not to me either.
I wouldn't
But
want to.
I'm sure that some people watching this might think of it as a difficulty, a hindrance. I don't know.
I think a lot of people feel their rights are being taken away from them.
Yes,
which is a huge obstacle, because freedom is a huge thing for everybody. But it doesn't come from a mask.
No.
But we could project that.
But there's an option.
Issues. I'd rather have people say, I'm really scared and I'm terrified and I don't know what to do with those feelings. Can you help me? And I don't like this mask, and I feel like, you know, it's being politicized, and people are trying to tell me what to do. And I'd like to hear all of that and talk to people about that versus, I'm not going to wear this thing.
Yeah.
You know, I understand both, you
but
know.
that is a big obstacle for some people.
It sure is. Dependent upon what you're willing to project about it. Right. It's interesting. It's the obstacle is the path.
It is the path.
So if your mask is the obstacle, how would you solve that? By taking it off? Because it isn't just the mask. There's something underneath that that's causing that projection, right?
And we go, then for me, I always go
wrong or right. I'm not judging anybody, so please don't hear it that way. I'm really not. It's just, it's what you want to make of it.
I look at not everything, but almost everything from the point of view of everything that we do almost is created by emotion.
Yeah.
And there are only two emotions.
Yeah.
One is love and one is fear.
Exactly.
And the obstacle part is not coming, if we perceive of something as an obstacle, it's not coming from love.
I guess I would want to talk to the mask and ask and talk to the projection directly and say, why have I given you this power? What are you really to me? Because if you talk to a mask is going to say, I'm simply that. I'm just a piece of cloth. But we gave it meaning. We give it a certain meaning, you know. We project a certain meaning. We do that in every area of our life until we really look at it as to what is it really before we give it meaning. What is it really? And can we leave them with something about obstacles that's a tool?
Yes.
We've given them quite a few ways to think about it. Something guided imagery that we could do, or?
Well, I'm thinking in terms of the word obstacle.
Yeah.
And what comes up for you when you hear the word obstacle?
Wall.
Wall for you. And so when that wall is in front of you, that obstacle, I will ask you, how high is that wall, Simone?
Right now in this moment, it's not very high. It might be 2 feet.
2 feet?
Yeah, I could walk over it.
Well, you could sit on it.
Yeah. I
So
can knock it down.
you sit on that wall that's an obstacle.
Okay.
And now what do you want to do? Swing your feet over on the other side and keep on moving?
Yeah, but I'd be probably more prone to destroy it,
Okay.
because that's what I've learned in my life. I'd probably take a lightning bolt or a laser of light and just destroy it.
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, because I don't want it. I don't want burdens like that.
So here's the thing, that you know what you would do to your obstacle, right? Metaphorically.
Yes.
And truly, because the language of the subconscious mind is metaphor, just think in terms of some obstacle that you perceive in your life and think of it metaphorically. What does that obstacle look like? Is it a wall? Is it a boulder? Is it a mountain?
A color.
A color?
An energy.
Whatever it is, you have a choice. What would you like to do to it? Would you like to make it smaller? Would you like to change the color? Would you like to dissolve it? Whatever you'd like to do, you have the power to do that.
I remember early on the 60s, people used to talk about it. And this was when Wayne Dyer's Erroneous Zones came out, and he sold like 60 million copies or something.
I know.
I remember being on the subways of New York, and everybody was reading it because they wanted that information. And that was the time when people used to say, hey, when somebody is frustrating to you, or they appear to be an obstacle, shrink them down to the size of a fly. Make them really tiny when they're talking to you. Just watch it buzzing around, but you don't care. You don't care. You don't have to kill the fly. Just let it just go away.
Exactly.
To minimize the amount of energy that you're giving to the thing. That's I think the main thing. And to realize your own personal power, connection to something that's so powerful, that's within you all the time, that's guiding you and leading you, and you don't need to stay stuck around an obstacle.
It is true.
We're so blessed when we find out how connected we are to that which creates everything.
And we're so blessed anyway.
So blessed. So blessed. I wish everyone knew that.
So at any given moment, you can look in retrospect at your life and look at all of the things that you've dealt with. And there is nothing you haven't dealt with, one way or another. And the person you are today is the person you are because of all of the things you've dealt with. And so nothing, you have to know that nothing can arise in front of you. Nothing, no obstacle can arise that you won't deal with, because you've already dealt with everything.
And learned from.
And learned from it.
There's so much to learn.
Become stronger because of it.
That's why we said we were calling ourselves Semi-Enlightened, because we've got so much to learn.
Absolutely.
Still. Tons.
Way more than we...
I'm glad I'm learning it alongside you. It makes it a lot easier.
Well, I'm glad I'm learning it beside you, because you can explain it to me when it happens.
Oh, no. Oh, my God. It's all, to me, it's just like, what? I'm going to trust it. What? I'm going to trust it. It's that trust and faith thing that Helene Rothschild has just tried to embed in me, which is you've got to have trust and faith. It's the key to everything. It's the key to everything.
If you don't have that, then you see yourself as a victim.
Yeah. And
no one is a victim.
Rules. And you don't want that. You want love to rule. That's what we're looking for right now. And we love you.
Yes.
And we're so glad you came to spend some time with us today. And
push that subscribe button, would you?
Yeah, please. And please tell people. We're so excited and so inspired to be here with you, and we need your help. We really do.
Yes, we do.
And we want your help. We don't need it, but we want your help. We want to hear from you, and we're so blessed. We feel so blessed to be in front of you like this, and to to show up. We want you to show up too.
Say goodbye.
Goodbye.